Thank you very much for serving on the search committee. Recruitment is the most important thing any organization can do. And I know that you will be challenged in this position to sift through what I would imagine will be dozens, perhaps even more than 100 applications for the position that you're seeking to fill. And as a psychologist, I'd like to kind of give you a little bit of advice that I hope will help you do that in a way that's consistent with my goal as Dean of the College for ensuring that we do everything we can to be intentional about embracing and, where possible, recruiting highly qualified candidates to our campus who increase our diversity. As you know, our faculty is not as diverse as our student body, and we would like our students to be able to see themselves in their faculty. One of the things that I will speak to you, being a psychologist, to kind of warn you about is when confronted with very complicated and very arduous, effortful, we might say, tasks, people tend to invoke heuristics, shortcuts, ways of doing things that simplify the demands. A good example is many of us have trusted sources for information. If somebody tells us something from a trusted source, we tend to accept it, even though we know that in a very few cases that information might be wrong. But to actually check absolutely everything we're told would be overwhelming. And so we adopt heuristics. One of the heuristics that search committees occasionally adopt is what I call the letterhead heuristic. That is, you're faced with dozens, perhaps even over 100 applications, and my God, to read everything in every file is overwhelming. And so there's sometimes a tendency to look at Avita and go, oh, okay, Harvard. Oh, okay, Berkeley. Okay. Oh, Southwest Texas State, right? Nacogdoches State. And that's what I call a letterhead heuristic. That is, you make some very quick judgments based on relatively superficial information. I will tell you that as a dean and as a psychologist, doing that will tend to reify the privilege and the representation we already have in our faculty. Different people end up at Harvard and Yale than the Southwest Texas State, but it doesn't mean that Southwest Texas State, that person didn't do an incredibly interesting dissertation and might even have some other work that if you were able to read it, you might go, oh my, that's a person who really might contribute to our department. And so I urge you to avoid the letterhead heuristic, right? Take the time to read the applicants and find out what they're doing. I know that's a lot of work, and I appreciate that you'll do that. But the shortcut will end up with a lot of people who look like me and continue to sort of represent the kinds of people who are currently in our faculty and not the diversity that we'd like to have across the board. The research that we have on how committees work and how hiring committees work is that ranking will tend to, on average, privilege candidates who are white and who are male. That may be for reasons because they are that, that in any given search, that may be a really outstanding candidate. Over multiple searches, however, ranking tends to result in fewer females and fewer people of color being offered positions. I can speculate as to why that might be. I do think that there are often interpersonal interactions are influenced by many things. Some of those things include unconscious bias. And when I say unconscious, I mean you literally aren't aware of it. I'm not aware of it. I know that I've really tried to actually catch myself and really try and keep count in my head not to interrupt some people, because I'm a white guy and I'm a dean, and most of the time people will stop and listen to me. And that kind of thing can influence how a committee acts. I will tell you, and I know you're better with words than I am, Kat, I generally don't have any doubt that when there's clearly differences among the final three candidates, the description of strengths and weaknesses doesn't leave me much doubt as to who is better, but more importantly, why.
Yeah.
You know, and another issue that frankly sometimes comes up with rankings is fit. And I don't know if you've done the research on fit, is that there tends to be a finding that women and people of color are less likely to be described as fitting our program. And so I really think that rankings don't give you anything that you don't get through the strengths and weaknesses. And in fact, they cause an outcome over multiple searches, I'm not saying in any one search, but over multiple searches, that will result in less diverse candidates.